Hello and welcome to my first GW2 PvP video. In this video I'm gonna show you how to spec a warrior effectively and how to do well in both 1v1 situations and group PvP. So let's get started. First thing, I just created this character and now we are going in the PvP lobby. So for this we just join a game and then head right away in the PvP lobby where we can set up our character and stuff. Heal him up, whatever. Just press H to open the hero panel, then PvP and then be in the mist. Some words about the spec I'm going to use. It's a very offensive spec, which means you don't have that much survivability, but you do a shitload of damage. And with this spec you will be able to kill some people in 3 or 4 seconds. And it's probably the most damage in the entire game if you play a warrior with this spec and use all abilities correctly. Good. The first thing we are going to do is to change the gear, runes, sigils and that stuff, to increase our stats and maximize our damage output. So first we are going to the weaponsmith. And we are now in the PvP lobby and here you find all the vendors you need to change your gear.
Do you need my aid?
And we buy a PvP axe.
Anything to
You buy things by double clicking on them. A PvP shield. And the PvP greatsword sword. On each weapon you can place a sigil which improves the stats or has some bonus effect. In our case we're gonna buy the sigil of superior air for the greatsword, which is a 30% chance to cause a lightning strike on a critical hit. And we are going to buy the sigil of intelligence, which means you have a 100% crit chance after swapping to this weapon, and the sigil of superior doom, which makes your next attack after swapping to the weapon deal 30% more damage. Those two together are really insane and I'm gonna show later why. Here we don't need anything. Good. The next vendor is the armor vendor. We already have the best pieces that we can get, but there are wrong runes or gems in it. Like we don't need that much vitality, so we're just gonna replace them with something better. And the best runes in my opinion are the superior runes of divinity, which grant you 10 to all stats. And we are going to buy 6 pieces of them. The last vendor we are going to visit is this PvP items merchant.
Let's see the color of your coin.
And here we are going to buy an amulet. Amulet in these games are really important because they change the stats a lot. Like we're going to go from 26.5 HP to 18k HP, but in return we will increase our crit chance and crit damage. The amulet we are going to use is amulet PvP power, precision, crit damage of power. And the other thing here is jewels. You have 2 earrings, 2 rings and this amulet, and in each of them you can place a jewel. The best jewel for our spec, which means the best offensive one, is the perfect ruby jewel. So we're going to buy 5 of them. Okay. So now let's equip this gear. The default weapon for the warrior is a rifle, which we really don't need, so we destroy this. I mean, if you wanna play range, then you should play a ranger or whatever. At least it's not my style to play a warrior, to stay here with a rifle, I mean, what the fuck. We're gonna equip our weapons instead, which is the greatsword. and the X shield combo. So now we're gonna put these sigils on them that we purchased before. The sigil of superior air goes to the greatsword. You put those sigils on by simply double clicking on them. And we put both the sigil of intelligence and sigil of superior doom to the ship. Then we also purchased these runes of divinity for the 6 armor pieces. Gonna put 10 in. Good. The last thing we are going to do is we equip our new amulet and put those 5 perfect ruby jewels on our stuff. Again, you do this by simply double clicking. Alright. So now we went from 26.5 KHP to 18.9 KHP. So our survivability went down quite a bit, but in return we got a lot of power, precision and crit chance, which we will need for our spec. Good. Next thing I'm gonna do is to talk about the traits. Skills and traits are some bonuses. Some you get by putting points into them, the specific trees, for example strength for arms, and some you can choose. Those, it's called major traits. The default setting 30 defense etc. is really bad, so we click on refund traits and we spend them to make our spec effective and to max it out. And the most efficient spec in my opinion is, first we're gonna put 10 points into strength, 10 points into arms, 20 points into defense, and 30 points into discipline. The reason why I put these stats in the specific things is because of the major trait slots. I mean, otherwise I would have put more into strength, but we only need one major trait slot in strength. We really need the defense ones and discipline ones, so that explains why I put those points into strength and defense and discipline as well. Good, then we're gonna choose these trait slots. The default one here in strength is that you damage foes at the end of the dodge round. Not really that important, but we choose the 10, which means that using a heal skill removes cripple, freeze, immobilize and weakness. In arms we choose the 4. It says gain might on a critical hit with greatsword. We got like almost 40% crit chance, and so we're gonna crit a lot, and this gives us might, which is a damage boost basically. And we're gonna have this buff up all the time. In defense we put 5. It activates balance stance when you are dazed, knocked down, launched and stunned. This is great because let's say someone stuns you and you automatically activate balance stance and get out of it. GW 7 activates Endure Pain at 25% health. I'm gonna talk about Endure Pain later as well. And it's an ability where you are immune to every damage for 5 seconds. So basically if you reach 25% health, you get this immunity for 5 seconds, which is great. And in discipline we'll use the 9, which means movement skills break immobilize. We have various charges where we're gonna need this. 6, which means that our burst skills cost less. We're gonna talk about this later as well. And number 1, which increases our crit chance for up to 9%. And that was everything in this. Next thing is some bonus thing that I'm gonna talk about. In the general options, that's what they should look like in my opinion. You don't wanna have this double tap to evade check, you wanna uncheck it. The default setting is checked. And interactions, you wanna uncheck everything. Those are things that you don't need, like auto targeting or fast cast ground targeting. You really don't want that. In the user interface, there you're gonna actually check some things so that you can see all enemy names, skill recharge, and also important are the key bindings. This dodge ability is not bound by default, so you wanna use a key that you can easily access. In my case it's E. Then the lead skill, profession skills and healing skill, you all wanna bind to keys that you can easily access. Utility skills are those, gonna replace them later with others. But I just put them on the mouse because of a burst combo, but you can also use other keys for that. Just make sure that you bind everything and don't click anything. And also don't use binds like 7, 8, 9, the default ones, they are terrible. Yeah, also bind your weapon swap. And yeah, that's it. So let's talk about those 5 skills. Those are skills that we can change to other skills, and the first one is a healing skill. The best one is already selected. Heal yourself and remove 2 conditions. Next one we want to replace with a skill called Pulse Charge. Just looking for it. There we go. Which is a charge and knock down 2 seconds. Then we also choose here we can decide between the balance stance to get an 8-second immunity against control effects, or Endure Bane, which is a 5 seconds invulnerability. I prefer for the really offensive spec the balance stance, but if you play against teams that tend to focus you a lot, I swap to the Endure Pain. This is probably our most important skill, Frenzy. Improves critical damage and quickness. Skills and actions are twice as fast. Why this is our most important spell I'm gonna show later. We go through the Great Sword abilities. And last is our elite skill. Yeah, they are not really great for a warrior, but I prefer the Signet of Rage, mostly for the passive adrenaline gain. Yeah. Then let's go through the abilities. 1 is default attack for X. 2 is an AoE with the X. 3 is a slow, where it throws the X, so you can also use this on range. If you compare it to warriors in WoW, then it would be hamstring. 4 is a shield bash, where you charge a little bit to your target and knock it down. And 5 is a 3-second block, where you don't take any damage. The burst skill is great, it's doing a lot of damage, and with the sigils that we just put on, it means that if we swap to the X, we're gonna get 100% crit and 30% more damage on this finisher. But more on that later. Great Sword skills. 1 is the default attack. 2 is a great skill called 100 Blades. It does a lot of damage, but it requires you to stay in place. So it's really only effective if the target is either stunned or immobilized and can't get away. 4 is another slow. It's the same as 3 with the X, so be careful here that you don't confuse them. So as I said, it's a hamstring for 4 seconds, and 5 is a charge, which also breaks the immobilize effects due to our major trade slot that we selected before. Okay, so now I'm gonna show some burst combos on those things. Our lead skill also gets a bit of might and swiftness. So now I'm gonna use the basic high burst rotation, which means you use frenzy and pulse charge at the same time and then use 100 blades. These things get a lot of HP, the heavy golems, so I'm just gonna show you how much damage we are doing. Both targets died instantly. It's a risk rate, we just attack something during combat and swap weapon and use it. And you see a 9k critical. Gonna show frenzy one more time. Yeah, I see with this spec you are doing a lot of damage. I'm gonna show a few clips of me in PvP with this spec later, so you can see it's easy to do, well not easy, but you can do 1v2 situations and win them constantly. And yeah, the spec is just great. It's really useful. You can quickly cap points by just bursting down the target immediately. And yeah, but you also need to be aware of other classes, what they're doing when they're using their leads, so you dodge them, because you don't have that much survivability with this spec. So yeah, this was my first instructional video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something and have fun with this spec if you decide to try it out.